Good.
This is Nathan Daniels.
I'm gonna pass this around. This is kind of my binder from last summer when I was in Nancy, and you guys can kind of look at the pictures and some of the work I did. So really what I want to start out with is showing you guys a quick video. This kind of highlights the program. You're going to see pictures of kind of some places we got to go to. And then once we watch this, I kind of go into more specifics about the cost of the trip and logistics and everything I kind of got to do and what assistance is available to you through the university if you decide to study abroad. So first off, if you want to look up this program, you can go to France-summercourses.com, and it's a really nice website. Nancy is, this is where Nancy is, kind of in relation to Paris.
It's July.
Yes,
No, just here, it's July.
So I thought that was a really good way to start out, to kind of pique your interest. Nancy is a beautiful little city. There was so much that we got to do. This was kind of a picture. I've got a bigger picture I'll show you later of our group. You can go on this website and learn more about this program. They've got a Facebook page. These are actually the next, this is actually this year. Usually these prices were the same that applied to me, and they're usually between June and July during the summer. So I looked up the euros last night, and that was around $1,800. So it really wasn't that bad. We'll kind of get more into scholarship and financial aid later, so you guys can kind of think about a way that you can make it work for you. I'm an international studies major, and so a big part of my education at UTM was having a foreign language minor, and I chose French. And a big part of having a foreign language minor is trying to have at least one study abroad or travel study experience while you're here. So has anybody studied abroad before anywhere?
I haven't studied abroad, but I've been to France before.
Have you? What part did you go?
We went to Paris, Normandy, and Saint-Maillard.
That's where, when did you go?
About 2 years.
Okay. That's where I got to go last year with Porto. It's a really beautiful area. So just to kind of highlight before I start on Nancy and closing out, last summer I got to go with Dr. Florido on a 10-day travel study. I can't remember if you said are you doing it again or no?
No,
You're not getting to?
not.
Okay. And so there are quite a few 10-day travel studies available to you through the Center for International Education. You can get online and look at the schedule, and I'll highly recommend trying to go on one of those. They're usually pretty inexpensive. I know if you're, how many of you are in the College of Business? So we got 1, 2. So I know in the College of Business, for any study abroad you do, you can get up to $1,000. And through SGA, you can apply for an SGA scholarship, which virtually everybody is applicable. Everybody's a member of SGA on campus, whether you know it or not. Every student's a member of SGA, and so those fees are actually going in to help you study abroad later. So apply for those if you decide to go on a travel study. You can get $500. So with Nancy, I was actually able to, it was about $800 for the program. That was lodging, that was food every day and night, that was for my courses, and that was for the weekend excursions. We got to go to Paris one weekend. Every weekend they had you doing stuff. We were going to different areas of France, different little cities and communes, and it was really more of an experiential learning type trip versus just being in the classroom all the time, which I feel like you really learn more when you're out and about and you're on your own and you get to interact with locals and practice your French. So this was in Saint-Malo. This was our travel study, and this is the beautiful city, and we did so much there. This is Dr. Garza. He and I were really big on hiking and going around the outskirts of Saint-Malo. We went out one day, and there was a bunch of little old forts around Saint-Malo, and we kind of went and explored those. And then this was the French family I got to stay with, Marie and Philippe. And that was the little French home. It was beautiful inside. It was really neat because on their windows they had these electronic shutters that if you press the button they would close at night, because a lot of times around 9 or 10 it was still daylight outside and you could close those, and so you could go to sleep if it was still daylight. That was just a little fun fact. If you go to France, you gotta have a crepe. That was something that my French mother made for us one night. There were actually 3 girls from Germany that were also staying, 2 girls from Germany that were also there, and then there was another student from UT Martin, Daryl Hawkins, that was my roommate. Daryl really saved me because my French was not as good. I was kind of a little more outgoing than Daryl, but his French was so much better, and so we kind of helped each other out and was able to get through. And the family only spoke French, so it was really fun, but it was a challenge. So as you saw in the video, this was the University of Lorraine. This was actually the law campus for the university that we got to study in. It was a beautiful campus. There was a lot of students, French students that were there that we would talk to every day, and they would help us with their French. There were different subjects we got to study you could sign up for based on your level. There was theater, as you saw. There was culture. There were some music courses and literature and history courses. Really, I stayed more so in the nitty-gritty of the French language and composition. And then I also got to take a cultural course.
These cultural courses, you can pick the ones that interest you, like if I don't want to do theater, I can do music or art. Or
You could. At the first week, you would take a test, and based on what you scored on the test, there were certain courses that were higher up that you could not sign up for, but then there was a whole range of courses that were elementary and intermediate that you could sign up for. So it's not a preset program when you go over. You can sign up for the courses you want based on your interests. If you're more of a literature type person and you love writing and reading and you want to study more about French literature, that was a course available. Or if you want to learn more about history and politics and diplomacy, that was another course that was emphasized. And really the biggest thing that I got to experience was new friendships. And that was one of my favorite aspects of the trip. I got to meet students from over 20 different countries, and a lot of those students I still talk to today. I actually was just talking to one of my friends from Denmark last night. So I had a Skype session a few weeks ago with two students from Russia that I met, and during this study abroad program, we were kind of talking about the election and politics in general, and just what it's like in Russia and their view on both candidates. And so I'm a big political science junkie, and I love keeping up with international affairs and the elections. So it was interesting to me to kind of learn about another culture. And so I think probably the funniest, goofiest students that I met were from Hong Kong. They were really hilarious. One guy, everywhere you go, he had a big bottle of wine just carrying around with him. We got to go to some concerts there while we were on our excursions during the weekends, and they would have, in the mosh pit, when you go to France, everybody's just got a huge bottle of wine, and they're just jumping around in the mosh pit, drinking wine. And
you don't have to be in a mosh pit.
You don't have to be in the mosh pit. I thought it was a good idea to experience that. And it was fun until somebody sprayed the crowd with a big water hose. But there was a lot of time in the classroom, but there was a lot of time outside the classroom. And really, when you're looking for a study abroad program, you want to find one that's not just going to keep you inside all day, because you want to get out. A big part of the experience. I was fortunate because I had just recently traveled in May, a few weeks before, with Dr. Florido through the airport and kind of navigating the train system and public transportation. But it's scary, but it also, once you go abroad and you have this experience, you feel like you can really do anything, because it helps you be a stronger person, both emotionally and physically, because there's nobody there. If you get sick, I started kind of getting sick towards the very last week, and all of my friends was really up to take care of me while I was there, but it was just kind of occasional sinus and allergies. It wasn't really anything bad, but everybody there are, this was the director of the program. He was a really awesome guy. One night I got to ride with him to an event, and we talked about a lot of different things, and whenever I would email him about this program, initially Dr. Florido was the one that told me about it, and I had a lot of questions for him, and he emailed just right back. And so his email, I can send it to you personally, or it's on the website, and I know if you have any questions, he would love to get with you.
Can you communicate with him in English?
Ma'am?
Did you communicate with him in English?
He would send a page in French for you, and then he would also copy in a document in English so you can understand. And so he was really good about that. His English was really well, and there were also also some other, not mentors or supervisors, kind of like counselors there. There was a man from Oklahoma that was actually a French professor that was there to help more of the English students, which I was only one of 5 Americans there. So there were 2 girls from UCLA, and there was a gentleman from Oklahoma, and then there was a woman from Texas that was a French teacher. And so myself and the 2 young girls from UCLA were really the only students there. And it would be really fun because we would all go to lunch, and you'd have an American, you'd have some Australians, a guy from Italy, Hong Kong, Japan, China, and you're having this in-depth conversation, and you have so much more in common than you ever think you would. And also, the common language that everybody is trying to speak with each other is French. And so you're all there to learn French. But also, I thought it was interesting that everybody knew English. And most of the time, I would listen into other groups, and that was kind of the common denominator was English. I don't feel like that if you go to France, I don't feel like you're just going to be completely left out of conversation. You definitely are there to practice your French, but don't be intimidated by the language barrier because it's definitely accessible. You're definitely able to communicate with people. So like I was talking about with the scholarship, so this trip was about $1,800. That was all inclusive. That covered your food, your housing, your classes, your trips. We had, they would give us little cards every day. We would go to the cafeteria on campus and have lunch and then dinner. And so I never was hungry when I was there. There were little stores near the university if you wanted to go and buy snacks or popcorn or candy or wine or anything you want. We would go and do that. But as far as the housing, it was a dorm, and it was really neat because we were all in these hallways with each other. I have a ton of pictures in that binder. I think I have some in the dorm, and then I have some on my Facebook. You're welcome to friend me on Facebook and just proud through my Facebook photos. I don't care. I'll be more than happy to send you all of them. I didn't put them all in this because I really originally wasn't going to put any kind of presentation together. I was just going to come in and sit and talk with you guys. But I wanted you to kind of have a visual aid. But I really could go on for hours about the positives, but I don't want to just keep talking. I want to kind of hear if you guys have any questions first. Anything at all about logistics or fears I had or things that surprised me or didn't surprise me.
So, okay, it was 1,800 for the
Yes, I'm going to
course.
finish that.
And then
So
you had
the plane ticket, and you're not going to be by yourself. Florida sat down with me, and we did it all together. She helped me book my plane ticket and also the train ticket. It was the director of the program was very specific about where you would take your flight to and where you would take a train to. And when you get to Charles de Gaulle Airport in France, in Paris, there's a train station there. And so took a train out and then met. They were at a train station. There were some young students that were kind of our counselors that were there to meet us. So it was about $1,800, which I was able to receive $1,000 from the College of Business and $500 from SGA. So really, the only thing I spent out of pocket for the actual trip, as far as the program goes, was about $300. But you are responsible for your plane ticket. And then I think the train tickets were very inexpensive.
the train tickets are not expensive, and the plane tickets, if you buy, the thing is that he bought his plane tickets was what, May or June to travel in July, so it was really close. If you decide that you want to go in June, we should start sitting back looking for prices in January. And like when the prices are good, we just say that is the, I want to send you guys in a group, so even if it's 2 or 3 or 4, when you are ready to go and then you have a group and it's saying, here, prices are down, it's $800, buy it for this flight, this time. And then it's pretty self-explanatory. Airports are airports, doesn't matter where you go, it's airport. So, and the Charles de Gaulle is very organized, it's huge, but it's
They're,
where to go to the train, train is train, it's the same thing, it's the same word, you
there's
just
English
go.
under the French. Most of what we experience, there would be a French time and English would be under it.
Yeah.
It's
So
very
it's,
tourist friendly.
I have two questions. How long does it normally take to get a passport?
So I got my passport in 2013 because I was getting ready to go to Kenya, and I honestly can't remember in 2013 exactly how long it took me. And I think I don't really have an answer to that
I got
because
mine
so much is happening with the Department of State.
I got mine within like.
It's
but I wasn't-
I would not count 2 weeks, I would give 2 months.
Oh, yeah.
It was very quick. There was, but you never know what's going to happen with the State Department,
Yeah.
and it's going to slow things down.
Well, and my other question, like, what was the most challenging thing that, like when you got there, what was the hardest thing for you?
So the first night I got there, we had this little intro reception, and I guess the biggest thing for me, once, it's just like me getting up here and standing in front of you guys. Once I get going, I'm okay, but just meeting a whole different group of people from different backgrounds and languages, your initial instinct is to kind of form a clique with people you're comfortable with, and me go and stand over here with the UCLA girls, and the Japanese students go stay with the Japanese students. I mean, that's what happens on our campus. Everybody stays in their little cliques because that's your safe zone. But the biggest thing is, as hard as it is, and it's as much as it's against your instincts to stay in your little safe area, you've got to really open yourself up to meeting other people. So I just grabbed some cheese and some wine and started talking to everybody because everywhere you go, there's cheese and wine. And so it just you
And
just
people
have to.
don't get drunk.
No, it's not that. It's not that it's a big party, everybody stays drunk all the time. That's just their culture, you know. You just sip. Whenever we would have dinner with a family, you would just drink a little wine and you would have your meal and talk about things going on in your life and politics. And some nights you would turn the TV around that was on the news, and we would just talk about the news. And it's not here where if you go to Cadillacs or Stables, you just drink until you're gone. I mean, it's just the culture, you know. And so don't think that it's, you know, it's because I'm a Christian and I go to church regularly, and it's not something that I was uncomfortable with as far as the culture goes. It wasn't that at all. So, you know, that was probably the hardest thing for me, was just initially opening myself up to it. And it is, you know, it's hard just going through, going somewhere by yourself, especially abroad. But it was so much fun, though. It was, you know, it's your own little adventure. And some of the things I would recommend if you go abroad, or travel study, or a month. Mine was a month. You can stay a whole summer if you want. This was the longest they offered for us to stay was 4 weeks. So I did package A. It was all inclusive. This year they went to some different. We went to Colmar. We went to the. Is it the, how do you pronounce it, the Alsace region? Alsace region. That's where we kind of explored. And so there's a schedule in there in the binder I'm sending around. So Tuesday nights for movie nights, we would go to a little theater. They would have stuff for you to do pretty much every night. So Tuesday nights for movie nights. There was the Bastille Day, which was the basically kind of like, you know, their 4th of July. There were a lot of fireworks. We danced a lot that night. It was just a really fun atmosphere. They have you doing stuff pretty much every weekend. There was only one weekend that we were free, and we, a group of us, all decided to, if you went in together and there was a group of 5 of you, you could get train tickets for 12 euros to go to Luxembourg. And so we went to Luxembourg for the weekend. And as an international studies major, I'm really interested in diplomacy and learning more about the European Union. So we got to see the International Criminal Court and some of the EU's main buildings there. And basically what I would recommend is even if you're on a study abroad with another language or wherever you're at, look for the big bus tours, because they're usually cheap and you can just sit on the bus and they have earbuds and there's usually a nice breeze and they'll just take you through the whole town and you'll have a professional tour guide on there telling you little facts and details about each building. Luxembourg was almost small enough you could walk, but we were just going to be there for an afternoon since it was a free weekend for us. We wanted to get back to Nancy, and we took the big bus tour, and that was a lot of fun. As far as financial, personally, I didn't have that extra money to go. I initially thought I was going to have to change my major just because I did not think I was going to be able to afford to study abroad. It was loans. I took out a private loan from Sallie Mae and I had that financed through the summer and paid for the plane tickets and anything I could afford. And that's just something you do because it's loans. Everybody has loans, and it's better for you to just go ahead and have the most enriching experience you can have while in college and build your resume and have these experiences, because you're going to have the rest of your life to work and pay off your loans. So don't stress out about that. I would recommend go ahead if you can try to find a student credit card that you could apply for. Just the Discover It card is a pretty good card, and now there's a chip in it, so you can go online and find different cards that are good for students with little or no credit. And the big thing internationally, I don't think Discover is that widely used as such as like MasterCard and Visa. But if you think you're going to study abroad, I don't know what year you guys are, even if it's a year or 2 years from now or 6 months from now, it'd be great if you have a credit card that has a chip in it. And make sure you read the fine print and see if they have foreign transaction fees, because the smartest thing to do would be to just take a credit card with you. That way you don't have to worry about your debit card or anything, or if you lose your euros, or, I don't think anybody on our trips had any problems with theft. I don't think anybody I was there for 10 days, went to Paris and with Dr. Florido, and then I was there for a month. And nobody that I knew got anything stolen. It's just you being responsible and not walking around Paris with your purse open or behind you. We could talk more about tips on how to dress and conceal your purse and put it around your shoulder, or even guides. I would recommend if you can get a waist. I know that the fanny pouch things are horrible, but if you find some kind of little thing to go around your waist, and you can just. I'm really big on button-up shirts, so you can just put it over your button-up shirt, and that way you could feel if somebody was trying to get it. But definitely try to apply for a credit card that doesn't have foreign transaction fees. You can use that while you're there, and it's paid off at your own pace. Does anybody else have any more questions before I keep on?
Did you receive a French credit?
I did.
How many credits did you get?
Dr. Florido will have to kind of look at I was on a time crunch for graduation coming up. I had some things change, and I ended up doing an internship in DC last fall, so I didn't graduate in December like I thought I was going to. But she will fight for you as a registrar. I was able to get, I think, 9 hours.
He did, okay, let's say if you go and you spend 2 weeks, you're not going to get 9 hours.
No.
He did more, he did a lot more, he did projects. Because usually when you go study, it doesn't matter if it's in Japan or in Spain or in France or in Germany. If you go for a month, you get 6 credits, so the equivalent of 2 classes.
Don't count on 9. Like you said, I did a lot of stuff with her personally and a lot of projects, and I documented everything. And because the registrar is very, very difficult to work with on things like that, and you really have to try to justify. I would not count on 9 hours. It's just I literally really thought I was graduating in December, and I was trying to finish my French minor. So she really fought for me, and we did everything we could to get that last class. But 6 hours is definitely what I would count on. I wouldn't really count on more than that unless there's a special circumstance and you really need to try to do some extra projects. And I was also able to use pictures and experiences from my 10-day trip to San Malo as well. So overall for this trip, I can safely say, you can do it under $3,500. I was not spending, I really didn't buy, it wasn't one of these trips that you go on and you just buy all this stuff to bring back. It was more of a go there and have the experiences versus buying little trinkets. And I got a few things, like I got some stuff from my parents and my brothers and sister, and but I would go and just plan on your experience, what you bring back is your pictures and your memories. And so when you do it like that, since this trip is all inclusive, your food's covered every day. On the weekends, I think there was only one weekend where our food was not covered. But they actually would have a picnic. They would bring and have all the food that was included in our price, and we would have a picnic on the weekends. If we were at a castle somewhere, we went to a lot of different places and had lunches and dinners and stuff there. So like when it says all inclusive, it's really all inclusive.
That is unbeatable. This price, there is not another study abroad price that will be. A Spain one is $5,000, something like this, and they don't have
Australia is
excursions.
like 4,500.
That's how much more?
It was definitely
How much?
4,500.
For the Spain,
No, for, it was France, Belgium, England, and Ireland.
how many days?
10.
It's really worth, and as I said, if you get your plane tickets ahead of time, they are going to be cheaper. And the train tickets are just not a problem. They are not expensive.
This was, okay, so I've saved everything. I'm really OCD about saving every email I ever had. This was Rail Europe. These are for my tickets. And so that's really not bad. And I think we waited, like she was saying, this was May, early first week of June. We just got back from San Malo, and we had rested and came up here and did this. And so this was really cutting it close. If you know in advance your date, you'll be able to find cheaper tickets.
And you can also, if you have a group, you can ask the university to locate a ticket for you guys. So that's everybody together, and he would be, if there is a problem with flights, they would be taking care of it. And usually costs a little bit more to go through the universe, but you have the advantage of if there is a missing plane, you just contact them and they figure it out if anything happens.
Just a little bit. This is kind of some of the courses they offered. And this is kind of, when you first got there, they would show you the schedule, and based on your level, you could take civilization courses, literature, culture. I was in this group, and then I was able to jump over and take a culture class in the afternoon.
How much do you think your French improved?
When I came back from this trip, I was speaking very well, and the writing was a lot better. It was one of those things where they would not speak to you in English in the recording classes. If you had a question, you'd have to ask it in French. And if you were speaking in French and you were speaking wrong, they would kindly interrupt you. And my teacher would make fun of me because of my southern accent. And we had a really good relationship, and she would stop and help me properly, enunciate and pronounce things. And so, this program, as much research as Dr. Ford has done and what we both have done combined, this was really the best one we could find. is a perfect mix between academically sound and being able to do experiential learning. It was just a very good, happy medium. So the mornings are classes, and then you have a lunch break, you all go together, and then you have an afternoon course. And then if your level was high enough, you could do the theater, or you could have a free period. And most of the time I would just go and observe the theater class, so it would help my French, and most of my friends were in there anyway. You know, there was a 13-year-old girl from Luxembourg that spoke 4 languages, and she was, you know, in probably group 3, group 4. You're already one step ahead of most Americans just by being in this class, because most Americans don't speak or care to speak any other language other than English. But when you go abroad and you meet students from over 20 different countries, and you see that they all speak at least 2 or 3 languages, you're kind of thinking, I should really get on that. And so the biggest thing I can recommend is, I have not had a French course. I was in DC last fall, and then I didn't have a French course in the spring. I practice on my own. There is a French student here now that I actually am going to be getting with to try to practice. You just really need to practice every day. 10 minutes every day, at least, to keep it. Because you don't want to go on a trip and just kind of lose everything you have. But also, I've noticed that when I do start diving into French, and I've been trying to watch videos on YouTube without subtitles and things like that and practice, and it does come back to you more than you think it would.
Any more questions? We have about 10 minutes. Practical questions on practical questions.
Can we give you homework?
Homework?
Yeah.
They did not assign any homework for us each night. They wanted us to go out with each other and talk to each other. Our homework was exploring the city. There was a huge, you saw it in video, city square, and they had ice cream shops and coffee shops, and so we would actually just go and get ice cream and sit around and have language conversation. And so, no, there wasn't. I would try to go back at 9 and study just for my own sake. And so you would be tested in order to receive my credit. I had to bring back a transcript, and so you are tested at the end. And so you want to do well on your exams. And
Because there's that as well. If you go there and you come back with F's from top to bottom, the grades are different. So like a C in France is like a high B in the US. So we do transfer. I do adjust the credits accordingly. And we all do, if we send students to France, they will come back with some sad notes. And it doesn't mean that sad grades, and that doesn't mean that they did poorly. It's just because they grade in a completely different way.
they do. And there's a conversion table that you'll look at, but you want to do well. You're there not only as representative for the university, but a representative for the United States. And you're really watched more than you know. And there were a lot of things going on last summer, and people would ask me, as an American, what are your thoughts on this? And so you want to be a good diplomat while you're there. This was an example of an email that the director sent me. So he did communicate with us in English, and he was very accessible. So this is, if you have any questions specifically, you're welcome to email me, or you can, that's the email for the general summer courses. Yeah, that was his email that he responds to.
So if you're not in the College of Business, if you're in the College of Humanities and Fine Arts, if your major is in the College of Humanities and Fine Arts, you get $500 And then you get the $500 from the SJ. If you go in the summer, it's a little bit more. I don't know if it's 800. It's a little bit more. It's more than the money that they give to travel studies. And then you get $500 if you have like a 3.0 GPA. You get $500 from our dean. And we usually have some money, the modern foreign languages, and it's not a lot that we can give anywhere. Depends on how many people are going abroad. It can be the equivalent of $50. But $50 would be the equivalent of about, 30 crepes. So it's not a lot. So even that is a good amount.
It does help, and that was what helped get me through.
I don't know about the other colleges. I don't know about education. What do they give you? I don't know about psychology. I don't know. But there are ways to get money, and I do think that if you get all these scholarships, and then if you can, I'm sure you might have at least $500 saved somewhere. If you don't, when you plan, you don't say, I'm going to France. I'm going to France next month. Usually you say, okay, we are going in the summer of 2017. So we have money, you can tell your parents, so I don't want Christmas presents, I prefer them give me money, or a combination of both, so that I can put it in my savings account.
I tried that with my parents and they said no.
No. Well, I don't know, you can always sell a kidney or something. Sell your hair to make wigs, or, I don't know. It's worth the experience. And if you are going to be teaching French, you have to go abroad, because you are only going to get that kind of fluency if you go abroad. And the experience and the food, and you cannot teach French and talk about food and culture if you've never tried it. Surely you have to go quite far away to find this kind of stuff that you find in every corner, in every city in France.
This was the mayor of Nancy came out and met us. He usually comes out every summer, and you'll be at City Hall, which is a beautiful building, and that's where they had a jazz trio, and they did a presentation of cheeses, and then we cheese.
Oh, okay.
The
Imagine someone coming with a cross.
She just came out, yeah. Yeah, the presentation of cheese. And he spoke French, but then this gentleman was usually our translator in English. He was the professor from the U.S., and he would translate everything for those, for everybody. So, you know, there were just a lot of really fun experiences with this trip. I made contacts and friends for a long time, and like I said, add me on Facebook, and I have a lot of albums, not only for this trip, but for the 10-day trip. This is when we got to go up in the mountains one day. It was really beautiful, and like I said, you really meet a lot of people from all over the world, and if you ever want to go somewhere, I have friends right now all over that say, hey, I'm coming to Israel, or I'm coming to Japan, can I stay with you? And they're like, yeah, you know, come on.
Was there any like
It will
stereotypes?
never happen back to, can I come to Mars?
Was there any like stereotypes of Americans that you were like, no, it's not really true, or like that's just how it looks on TV?
Yes, they thought, they asked me, you know, what we had against Muslims, and why do we not want to learn any other languages, or, you know, things like that, unfortunately. It's very unfortunate with this election cycle, some of the things that are being said. It's really, whether you realize it or not, and whichever candidate you support, people are watching and listening around the world, and as, you know, we are raised being told that, you know, we are the greatest country in the world, we are the best when it comes to human rights and democracy. But, you know, when you get over there and you're with students from 20 different countries, you kind of realize there are a lot of things that we can improve on. We need to humble ourselves, especially when it comes to education and healthcare. And yeah, there were a lot of thankfully I was able to hopefully make a good impression on all these people, and they can go back and say, well, Americans aren't just all narrow-minded like that, you know. But yeah, and so that's something you have to go through, and then anywhere you go. And all you can do is stay positive and then just be yourself and try to be a good representation of America and our values.
Just wear that hat.
How would
Make America great again.
Anything else?
What was your favorite thing to eat?
Favorite thing to eat?
It's very hard.
Probably the chocolate mousse, because it was everywhere that you went, and that was always my favorite. I probably had the best, when I went on the trip with Dr. Florido, I probably had the best steak that I've ever had in my life at a little back alley cafe in Paris. It was the butcher's meat of the day, and it was the best steak I've ever had. You can ask Dr. Florido. I have pictures of all my treats. I sent her an email that's just full of treats and girls. She would make fun of me for my girls and treats, but everywhere you go there, and so it's just good to have a little spending money to get gelato or ice cream
And the pastries and.
And she saw me taking a picture, so she was kind of like posing with the pretzels. So everywhere you go, there's a lot of good stuff to eat. Yeah, so just go to French for the food. If anything else, I think you need to go to the experience. Go to the food.
Did you have to pack for 4 weeks, or did they have a boat?
That's a good question. There was laundry. They were within the dorm for us to do laundry. I was actually sitting down in the laundry room. I'll never forget, there was a shooting in Chattanooga last summer. I was sitting there doing my laundry, and all my friends came down, and they had seen it. This guy from Spain came down and said, something just happened, and he said, in Chattanooga. And I was thinking, wow, you know, and I looked up. Hey, things like that stick with you, whether you realize it or not. You always kind of remember where you are when things like that happen. But yeah, laundry was accessible. They really help you as far as logistics getting around the city. I don't have anything else going after this. If you have free time and you have any questions you want to talk to me about, I'll be more than happy to stay as long as you need me here. Or else you can email me or message me on Facebook, and Dr. Florido can always
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Classroom is vacant now, so if you have